Hi, I'm Michael from A2A Simulations. This is a short demonstration how to fly LPV or ILS approaches with the help of GPSS module in our Aerostar 600 in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Before watching this video, I recommend getting familiar with autopilot description in our manual or watching my previous autopilot tutorial. Right, the plan for today is to fly LPV approach to Lublin Airport. I chose this approach because if coming from the west, like I do now, the aircraft will have to turn 180 degrees for the final approach course. So it would be nice to fly this part of approach on autopilot with GPSS to reduce my workload. But then, in order to have the autopilot to follow glide path down to the runway, I will have to switch from GPSS to standard approach mode. Approach is the only autopilot mode in which Glideslope mode can be activated. In this case, best to do it somewhere here, between the last turn to final and the final approach fix. And this is the main difference when an aircraft is equipped with GPSS. You have to decide if and when to switch from GPSS to approach autopilot mode. In GPSS, you have magenta line tracking, but no glide slope tracking. In standard approach autopilot mode, the autopilot tracks HSI needles, including glide slope, but it can only fly straight segments, no turns. Of course, you can also disconnect autopilot completely or stay in GPSS all the way and control descent manually. To begin, let's program the approach in GPS. Let's verify CDI is set to GPS. Autopilot is in heading mode. Unpause and turn on GPSS. One thing to be aware when using GPSS is that if GPSS is on, then the HSI is completely disconnected from the autopilot. I can move the heading back, course arrow, or even mess up the alignment. The autopilot receives bank steering commands directly from GPS and ignores everything else. But the moment I switch to any other autopilot mode, including approach, the HSI has to be set correctly, or the autopilot will go sideways. So let me prepare this now. Realign the HSI. Set the approach inbound course. And also set the heading back to the same course, just in case. After the final turn, I can now switch on the approach mode. The autopilot will start following HSI needles. If I were in altitude hold, Glideslope mode would arm automatically, but since I am in attitude hold, I have to arm it myself by pressing the Glideslope button. Note that in crosswind conditions, it may take a while for the autopilot to correct for wind. Unlike GPS, it does not know the aircraft ground track. It can only react to CDI needle drifting to the side and correct by slowly turning into the wind. Flying ILS approach would be very similar. As far as the autopilot is concerned, there is no difference between ILS or LPV approach. The autopilot does not know what controls HSI needles. If I were flying ILS approach, I would verify that the nav1 radio is tuned to ILS frequency and switch CDI control to VLOC. That's all. Okay, Glideslope intercepted. Here, laps 20. And let's add power. GPS's switch position has no effect on autopilot in any other mode than heading. How to set the switch is up to the pilot. For example, you may want to prepare it to what it's likely to come next. If you expect radar vectors, set to heading. If you want to prepare to fly missed approach as programmed in the GPS, set it to GPSS. Or maybe have a habit to always set it to heading if not in use, so you always get consistent behavior when switching the autopilot back to heading mode. Since this is autopilot tutorial and not a landing tutorial, let's finish it with a go-around. The autopilot has a simple go-around mode that can be activated with GA button or with the small button on the throttle. The only thing it does, it commands a fixed pitch climb. So let's see it now. When I press it, the aircraft will pitch up. Add power. Gear up. And flaps up. Now I can adjust pitch myself with pitch sync button on the yoke if pitch commanded by the go around mode is not to my liking. Once we pass missed approach point, I can activate missed approach, switch the autopilot to heading, and continue missed approach in GPSS mode. Okay, that's all for this video. I hope you found it useful. We have more tutorials like this one planned for the future. Cheers!